Hey Colts fans, I'm JJ Stankevitz and welcome into another episode of the Colts Show, an Indianapolis Colts podcast. We are brought to you by Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PC. Joined today by my friend Larra Overton. We are going to do a full season preview for the 2025 Colts. Big episode, lot to get into. Coming up on next week's episode, which is going to lead into week one, I had a chance to sit down with quarterback Daniel Jones. He was in that chair right over there. Really good conversation with him. We're going to run that again next week going into week one. But Larra, how we doing? We got a roster. We're locked in.
Here we are. It's basically a week away until we kick off the season, at Lucas Oil Stadium. And it's great to kind of have the way the season is structured. You get that Labor Day weekend that feels like kind of the wrap up to your summer.
Yeah.
And then you hit the ground running going into week one. And I love a week one home game in particular. So that's something I think that's added, a little more excitement even for me.
All right. We're going to get into the Miami Dolphins on next week's podcast. A full breakdown of week one is coming again on next week's episode of the Colts Show. But before we continue with our season preview for the 2025 Colts, a quick word from our friends at Microsoft. Greatness in the NFL starts long before kickoff. It's built in the quiet hours of preparation and the discipline to turn insights into action. The Indianapolis Colts rely on Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PCs to turn preparation into performance. With real-time AI-powered insights right on the sideline, coaches and players can make smarter, faster decisions when it matters most. From the field to the front office, Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PCs are transforming how the Indianapolis Colts prepare, strategize, and win. This isn't just about football, it's about unlocking potential wherever the game is played. Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PC, where every day is game day. All right, back here on the Colts Show, and where else can we start a season preview, Larra, than with the quarterback?
Yeah.
That's
been the whole offseason conversation, so why not start the regular season that way?
And the whole discussion about the quarterback has been, okay, who's going to start? It's going to be Daniel Jones. We know that. He's going to have a long leash. So, he's as far as we're concerned, we are operating like he's the Colts starting quarterback this season. That could change if something were to happen to him, right? But, this is the discussion right now is about Daniel Jones. We do have a question coming up about Anthony Richardson that we will get to in the Colts Show Mailbag. But, all right, let's just start here. What does consistency from Daniel Jones look like? Because that's the word, Larra, that Shane Steichen has used over and over again in talking about what he wants out of the quarterback, what he wants out of the quarterback competition. Mm-hmm. And that's the word that he kept coming back to in explaining why Daniel Jones was going to be the Colts starting quarterback. So, Larra, let's just start there. Big picture, what does that consistency look like?
I'm not sure if it's exactly one thing, but what I kind of kept coming back to is you take the plays as they come to you. You're taking the checkdowns when you need to. You're not putting the ball in harm's way. Mm-hmm. You're not forcing throws. You're not forcing yourself into plays. Maybe it's a throwaway when it needs to be a throwaway. It's a check down when it needs to be. I think that you're looking at that. You think about the verbiage that Shane used, the entire operation, right? Communication at the line of scrimmage is crisp and clear, and easy to discern among that entire offensive line. So all of those things are kind of factors that I take into account. I think the biggest thing for me is just not being risky with the football is maybe kind of the way to boil that down into the fewest words possible.
I think that's an interesting thought on it, because that's kind of what I hear too when I hear consistency is let's just complete some passes. Shane, I go back to something Shane said at the owners' meetings, which is you can't go broke taking a profit, which is just hey, just get 6 yards on first down, get 7 yards on first down, complete those passes so you're not in 2nd and 10 and 2nd and long situations. But I think the thing that the Colts are going to have to navigate this year is consistency cannot look like timidness. It cannot look like a lack of aggressiveness. And I don't think that...
I don't think that's Shane's style
that
whatsoever.
Is not Shane's style at all. Shane is going to call shot plays. He's going to be aggressive. It's more just, I think when fans hear that, and I think, frankly, when I heard that, the first thing I thought is, all right, just ping, 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 complete these passes, don't put the ball into harm's way, that type of stuff. But sometimes interceptions are not the end of the world if they come because you're being aggressive. Mm-hmm. It's a problem when, that aggressiveness comes in the wrong spots. And I had a couple talks with Cam Turner this offseason about Daniel Jones and that kind of willingness to be aggressive that he didn't maybe show a whole lot of in New York for several reasons. And he was like, no, we're very pleased with Daniel's decision-making in terms of when to push the ball downfield, when to get aggressive, but also when to say, all right, we got to go check down here.
And I think, too, one of the things to me that indicates, yes, you're going to continue to play the style that Shane wants to be. Like the word that he described in the conversation I just had with Shane earlier this week was, we're going to be explosive, right? And I think that one of the things that you have proven in Daniel Jones with the decision making is he's going to use what is at his disposal, right? He's going to use those weapons and not feel like that, he has to take the entirety of the offense on his shoulders. He's very smart in delivering the football, in, distributing the football across the offense, engaging and utilizing all the weapons that are around him. So that's one of the things that you feel like to what your point earlier, not forcing things when you don't have to,
right.
Not forcing yourself into bad situations.
It's very easy to sit here as a non-quarterback and say well, yeah, take what's there, and then when you have a shot to throw it deep, throw it deep. That's very easy to say. It's a lot harder, obviously, to do that in a game. But I think just looking at the teams that made the playoffs last year about the explosive play thing, because I think that's maybe one of my biggest concerns about this offense is, can they be explosive with Daniel Jones as the quarterback? If you look at last year, you got to be explosive in the passing game. That is something that you absolutely have to have. And last year, 8 of the top 10 teams in explosive pass rate made the playoffs. Only 4 of the top 10 at explosive run rate made the playoffs. But, then you get into success rate and stuff, and it's better to be more just consistent on the ground. But basically the point is you got to be an explosive passing offense unless you're like the Texans or the Broncos last year where you just had this outlandishly good defense, which is tough to count on year to year. So I think Shane knows that. This isn't, hey, we're going to have this kind of pop gun quarterback who's going to throw it 4 yards every time. There are going to be those shots built into the offense and those deep overs and, catch and run opportunities for Josh Downs and Tyler Warren. The consistency for me, to go back to that, is just completing those passes. It's no secret that Daniel Jones comes into this with a 64% career completion rate. Anthony Richardson was at 50.6%. So that's a pretty big gap there. And just completing those passes and getting the ball to your playmakers is where you kind of start building the foundation of this offense, and then you build the explosives on top of it.
The other thing, too, is Daniel does have, the ability to use his legs and extend plays and create opportunities for those explosive plays in the passing games, allowing guys to get downfield and create some of those opportunities as well. I think that's something a lot of people underestimated about Daniel Jones before they saw him in training camp, is just really how good he is with those types of situations.
And Daniel Jones also can run the ball.
Oh, yeah.
So I looked this up because I was I kind of had a basic idea of he was pretty good in New York. So he's in his career, 988 yards on 242 attempts. That's only 4.1 yards per attempt. These are on, by the way, non-scrambles. I took scrambles out of it. Okay. So this is just on designed runs. But he has 80 first downs. So 1 in every 3 of those runs was a first down. And more specifically, on 3rd and 4th down with 2 or fewer yards to go, he converted 35 of 46 opportunities. So that's a pretty good rate. Last year he was 11 of 13. In 2022 he was 8 of 8 on those. So that's going to bring your yards per attempt down. If you only need to get 2 yards, you're not running these super designery things that are designed to get you 10. His career first down and touchdown rate on design runs is 76.1%. That's right in line with Josh Allen at 76.4%, Lamar Jackson at 77.2%. So Daniel Jones' baseline is an efficient runner. But the thing, Larra, that I was looking at is what he can do on early downs. And this is where I think, the Colts aren't losing a ton in not having Anthony Richardson be their quarterback. Because last year, Larra, you remember, on 1st or 2nd down, you could run a zone read and Anthony Richardson could gain you 20 yards on it. And he's very good at that. But Daniel Jones in those situations, so I looked at 1st and 2nd down and 7+ yards to go. On those plays, on designed runs, on those plays, Daniel Jones averages 5.1 yards per carry on 127 attempts. That's a lot. That is behind only 3 players since he joined the league who have at least 50-plus attempts. Anthony Richardson is number 1 at 5.9 yards per attempt. The next 2 are Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray. So, that's putting Daniel Jones right up there with the top running quarterbacks in the league, or dual threat quarterbacks in the league. I think calling Lamar Jackson a running quarterback is very unfair at this point in his career.
Hey, and who was Kyler Murray's former quarterbacks coach?
Who was with Cam Newton prior to that. I think there is something there to Daniel Jones being a part of this run game. He's one of 6 quarterbacks to have 100-plus attempts in those early down situations since he entered the league. The other 5 guys there: Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Justin Fields.
Pretty good company.
Yeah. So, Lara, this is going to be a part of the Colts offense.
Yeah.
It may not be to the level that Anthony Richardson had it, but I don't know if you need it to be that if you go back to the consistency thing.
Well, and I think that was part of what made this a fit for Daniel Jones was the fact that with the offense, with the quarterback competition, this wasn't a situation where you had to alter the playbook so significantly much as you did between Anthony and Gardner Minshew, Anthony and Joe Flacco. And in talking throughout training camp to Daniel Jones, he talked about the appeal of Shane's system and the type of offense that he runs, because I asked him, I said, aside from the opportunity to compete, what drew you here? Because he had options, right? Of course, in the offseason and in chatting with him and about the influence of Shane, he heavily mentioned, 1, learning the quarterback position and continuing to develop as a quarterback within this scheme. He also said that it's the versatility of this offense. He said what Shane does, the drop back game, the RPO game, there's a lot there that I felt like I could do well. And then there's a lot of great guys, of course, noting, all of the pass catchers that you have, Quentin Nelson, Jonathan Taylor, everyone within there. So he was just saying that it's just been a lot of fun for him to continue developing, learning this scheme, and then working alongside Shane in terms of learning this offense and then developing his skill set within it.
So that brings me to my next point. The Colts have a much better situation right now than Daniel Jones ever had with the New York Giants. Daniel you're never going to get him to say that. He has too much respect for the people he played with, the people who coached him, the owners of the New York Giants. He's not going to say that, but I will, as someone who's here to talk. The situation that he had in New York with the offensive line he had and some of the misses they had on high picks and free agents on that offensive line, the receiver situation he had in New York up until they got Malik Neighbors there was not to the level. There was no guy on those teams who had 1,000 yards. Maybe Golden Tate, rookie year. Daniel Jones, Golden Tate previously had it. I don't know. And then I think, Brian Daboll's a very good coach. But sometimes you just need a change of scenery. I even heard Dan Campbell say this week about Hendon Hooker, where he's they cut him, and he's I kind of think he just needs a change of scenery. Sometimes that works for a quarterback, just a change of scenery. And a guy with Daniel Jones' talent, I think that could, overall, the pieces could come together in a way that was better than he's been in New York.
And it's especially, you just think about the difficulty of playing in that market too, right? It's another level of kind of the expectation and, kind of to the other side, the criticism and everything that goes along with it.
He's a top 10 pick in New York.
So, and then you think about what he has been able to do, obviously having the experience in New York, winning a playoff game in New York, going then last year to Minnesota, getting some more experience there. Now coming in, you just think about at 28 years old, now the wealth of experience he has and the different elements that he's taken from the different systems that he has been within and how he's now applying them. And he's looking to me oh, this is what I can do with having Michael Pittman Jr. This is what I can have.
Quentin Nelson blocking for him.
Right. This is what Tyler Warren provides me. Here's what we can do offensively when I know I have Jonathan Taylor back here. He's never had someone like Jonathan Taylor. Back that up.
That's the one thing.
I
kept having to. I caught myself doing that too earlier, where I was he's never had a. Nope. He just Saquon was really good. Never mind.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is so. Yes.
That's the one guy.
Rewind that. That is true. So, but you think about the complement of everything else within it. Yes, maybe you take the running back argument aside. We'll shelve that. But I just think too, when he comes in with these perspectives and experiences that he has and applies them within this offense, working with Shane, Cam, Jim Bob, the rest of this quarterback room. That's the other thing too, is talking to all of the guys who have been within that room. It's a really fun dynamic. Like, they really all enjoy being in that room, watching tape together, meeting together. I heard Cam Turner told me there are a lot of riddles in the quarterback room. Riddles. Yeah. So I'm going to have to do a little deeper dive into this. So
I don't know if I could come up with a riddle, like, right on the spot.
I know.
Okay, well, riddle me this, because I've got a take here. And I've been marinating on this one for a little while. Kind of like on last week's pod where I was like, I've been thinking about this like 2023 to 2025 comparison. And I was ready to dispense it and take it. All right, this one's ready to go on the grill. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you who this is about. I'm going to try to redact some stuff here. But this is from an article that Robert Mays wrote. I think Robert Mays is fantastic the way he thinks about the game. Host of the Athletic Football Show, does a great job. By making the redacted move, the team, redacted, showed a level of self-awareness that teams often lack. With highly picked quarterback heading into the final year of his rookie deal facing questions about both his health and effectiveness, general manager, redacted, knew he needed a contingency plan at quarterback. By acquiring redacted, the team took steps to ensure that this season might not be a total loss if redacted got hurt or struggled. That is Robert Mays writing about the Tennessee Titans trading for Ryan Tannehill in 2019. I keep hearing, well, Daniel Jones could be the next Sam Darnold or Geno Smith or Baker Mayfield. Those are all very recent examples. All those guys bounced from, Darnold went from the Jets to the Panthers to the Niners to the Vikings. Geno played for a trillion teams that whenever I do Immaculate Grid, I'm like, I forgot he played for the Chargers. And Baker Mayfield went from the Browns to the Panthers to the Rams for like 3 weeks to the Buccaneers. Ryan Tannehill went straight from the Dolphins to the Titans.
Interesting.
And, I know Daniel Jones had that little stint in Minnesota, but he didn't play there. Ryan Tannehill was traded for a 4th-round pick. The Dolphins were going to cut him had the Titans not stepped in and said, yeah, I'll give you a 4th-round pick for this guy, which is like nothing for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Ryan Tannehill with the Miami Dolphins, top 10 pick. He was a top 10 pick. From 2012 to 2018, those are his ages 24 to 30 seasons. Completed 62.8% of his passes. His touchdown rate was 4.2%. His interception rate was 2.6%. 7 yards an attempt and a passer rating of 87.0. With the Tennessee Titans, over his next 4 years with the Titans, Ryan Tannehill quarterbacked 3 playoff teams. He completed 66.9%.
They won the division
several times.
And went to an AFC championship?
Correct, and they were the number 1 seed in another year.
Yeah.
With the Titans over the next 4 years before he kind of broke down, due to injuries, he completed 66.9% of his passes. That is a jump of about 4%. That's a big jump. He had 89 touchdowns to 33 interceptions. He averaged almost a full yard per attempt more. And his passer rating went from 87 to 100.5. That came out of nowhere. The Ryan Tannehill resurgence that also, by the way, came at a later point in his career than Daniel Jones is at right now.
Because you said he got there at 30 is when he was
got there
traded
at 30.
to Tennessee? Yeah. Daniel's 28.
Daniel's 28. Situation matters so much for a quarterback. Ryan Tannehill in Miami, they went through some offensive coordinators, whatever it might have been. He gets to Tennessee, and Arthur Smith is like, I know how to use him. We got Derrick Henry in the backfield. We got A.J. Brown out there. We're going to spam play action. We're going to use him in the run game a little bit. He is more accurate than he's ever got credit for. They got Corey Davis. He was a good player there. And Ryan Tannehill exploded with Tennessee. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is going to do that, because there are other examples of quarterbacks getting jettisoned from teams as they, kind of reach the end of their rope there and go into another team and not having success. But I'm just saying that the blueprint, and it would not be unprecedented for Daniel Jones to have a jump in his production to a similar level of Ryan Tannehill. I'm not saying he's going to have a 100.5 passer rating, but that increase. So you look at Daniel Jones with the Giants, 64.1%. He had a lower touchdown rate but a lower interception rate. He averaged 6.5 yards an attempt, and his passer rating was 84.3. So let's just say Daniel Jones, his yards per attempt goes up by 0.9. That gets him to 7.4. That you can win with that. Let's say his passer rating goes up 13 points. That gets him to 97. You can definitely win with that.
Interesting. It's an interesting case study.
I have been like sitting on this one and thinking about this. It's taken up so much brain space that it is a relief for me to get this thing out.
Jace, when I looked at the rundown for today, I definitely did not see Ryan Tanahill working his way into the conversation.
I hid it in my notes.
Yeah, did you?
Because I wanted to get your reaction to it.
That is. No, and then also the use of jettisoned, which was just
Thank you.
Great
what
little
do you think about
SAT
that?
word.
What do you think about that? Is that is there at least, are you living on the same street?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think it's always interesting when you can take various situations in which players have found new life in their careers, because I think that is, you kind of, to your point, have had these conversations of the most recent ones that you hear those names circulated a lot, but it's really easy to forget just, a handful of years ago that team and what they were able to do. So I think just, so much of it is players getting into the right situations and, just being in that element to which they can thrive and find that right fit. They're just, you think about it so often, and whether it's, different coordinators, different head coaches, whatever the situation might be, where there is a player with super high expectations that doesn't work out. And we're not just talking about the quarterback position,
right.
So many different ways, how scheme suits guys, better than not. And that is a very interesting, proposition that you bring up, in that I think that Daniel Jones is very well equipped to have a successful season and to probably have the best season of his career.
And by the way, if Ryan Tannehill was a top 10 pick of the New York Giants or New York Jets, he would have, his reputation when they made that trade would have been like, well, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
But because he was in Miami, and he had success in Miami, but because he was kind of in a market that wasn't talked about all the time on that, ESPN and whatever, like maybe he flew under the radar a little bit. And I think he caught a lot of people by surprise in 2019.
Yeah, you're not in a market that had Eli Manning winning 2 Super Bowls, right? It's just a little bit different.
Okay, what's something we're looking for from Daniel Jones in the early part of the season? Like, we'll call it the first 4 weeks of the year, where you're kind of you're figuring stuff out, but you're sort of starting to establish that identity of this team. What's something you're looking for out of Daniel Jones?
I think that you're going to see him just be dynamic. I think that you're really just going to see him, be complementary and use kind of everything, as I mentioned, like everything around him. I think that you're going to see the point where if there are, those plays that you'd like to have back, he's not going to dwell on them. Like that's, I think, like you might see a down play or a down series, but Daniel Jones to me is a guy who, that's a drive I would have liked to have had back, but he's going to respond very well from those things. I think that that's something that you're going to find with him. I also think that people are going to be impressed with what he is able to do, like you mentioned, like with his legs. Like I do think that that's something that if people didn't watch closely, maybe in some of those opportunities at camp, which you get it, they were splitting first team reps, so maybe you didn't see as much as you would have liked to. I think that's something out of the first 4 weeks. I also think that you're going to start to figure out how you're using Tyler Warren within this offense, because he is a different element than what you have had, what Shane has been able to game plan with, than he's been able to implement. So I think that that's going to be something that's different, just flat out, not because of Daniel Jones, but different this season for this offense entirely. I mean, it's kind of crazy that the entire wide receiver room is the same from last year. Like, how often do you have that?
I know, right? Yeah.
You get everyone back, so it's going to be a big year for, of course, all of those guys, the development of a guy like Adonai Mitchell, continued success for Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman and, everyone within that room, Josh Downs, of course. So I just think that the biggest difference within kind of that element is just how you're implementing Tyler Warren, because he was so impressive with how productive that he was. And I think that that's something that is very intriguing with how it complements Daniel Jones in terms of that intermediate game in the offense as well.
All right, what I'm looking for early in the season is I want to see defenses start respecting Daniel Jones' ability to throw it deep. Because if you, I think if you're a defensive coordinator and you're looking at Daniel Jones in his career, you're looking at his average depth of target since entering the league, is 7 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. That is 61st out of 65 quarterbacks with at least 500 dropbacks since 2019. He's 25th in total attempts of 20-plus yards beyond the line of scrimmage, despite being 17th in total pass attempts. Those plays just were not there with the New York Giants, and it's funny, you'll see it on next week's episode. I kind of brought this up to Daniel, and he's like, yeah, I hear that from a lot of people, from everyone, and I could tell it kind of irked him a little bit, the narrative that he can't throw it deep. Here's why this narrative, I think, can flip this year. Daniel Jones, since joining the NFL, so out of that list of 65 quarterbacks, he had the 11th most dropbacks, or he was pressured in under 2 seconds. Like, he got the ball and bam, he's pressured. He was 5th. He had the 5th most dropbacks with pressure in under 1.5 seconds. So, like, you can't throw it deep when you have a second. Your receiver's barely getting out of his break. So, it's almost, and then, those are a fraction of his total dropbacks. But Larra, when you have those happening over and over again, there's a compounding effect there. The head coach is less likely to call shot plays. The play caller is less likely to call shot plays. You as a quarterback may be less likely to alert a shot play because you're like, if my protection can't hold up, I got to get an outlet. And you also just might not be as likely to trust the protection to get the throw off. Even if it might be there, you might be thinking, well, there might be a guy who's going to come and hit me because this has happened over and over again. I've had talks with, kind of like I was mentioning with Cam Turner, and other people around the building who were like, yeah, he can throw it deep. You're not building the whole plane out of it, but he can take those shots when they're there. And I'm not saying he needs to be a guy who has an ADOT of 12, but as long as defenses start respecting that ability for him to throw it deep, because by the way, you got receivers who can also go down and get it. You got Alec Pierce, you got A.D. Mitchell. Alec Pierce, by the way, looking up some of his stuff on deep balls, like he's awesome. Like it is as good as you think it is on these deep balls. If defenses have to start respecting that opens up a whole other world for this offense. The thing that I don't think you want to have happen for this offense is that it gets condensed. I kind of felt that way a little bit when Gardner was the quarterback in 23, where things would just sometimes get a little bit condensed because he couldn't push it downfield as much as an offense might need to. So it's not like, again, I'm not saying this needs to be chuck and duck, but just enough to the point that defenses have to start, as you get into week 5 and 6 and 7, defenses have to be like, he will throw it deep if it's there.
Okay, so conversely, just because you brought back the pressure rate that he faced when he was with New York, what was the pressure rate that the Colts offensive line allowed last year? Do you have that handy? Or
I do not have that handy. I can pull it up.
Sorry to audible. I was just kind of by comparison kind of interested because last year you saw obviously both Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco with the ability to push the deep ball. Obviously Flacco not nearly as mobile as the other quarterbacks that you're dealing with, but just kind of for comparison, I thought it would be interesting. Now, of course, this offensive line is going to have 2 new starters this year, but everyone I've talked to has immense confidence, and I think Tanner Bortolini, Matt Gonsalves have shown you so much over the course.
I think you also have a ton of confidence in Tony Sparano Jr.
And a ton of confidence in Bernard Ryman, Quentin Nelson, and Braden Smith as the anchors of that offensive line to bring in, your second-year guys to get those starting opportunities who did get valuable reps last year as rookies.
Okay, I'm looking this up right now, so
this is on the fly.
We're doing this on the fly. Let's
Sorry,
see.
Since you brought it up, I had to follow.
Pressure, total pressures allowed. Plays with a pressure allowed percentage.
I always have to give Jays the opportunity to dig into his bag of stats.
Yeah, Colts were 14th last year.
Okay.
Now, a lot goes into a pressure. Like, sometimes it's a pressure that happens because the quarterback held the ball and was, trying to push it, and there comes pressure. Sometimes it's the protection was wrong and a pressure happens because of that. Other times it's just, your typical guy got beat. But the New York Giants, for reference, last year were 26th.
Okay.
So this and look, I think this offensive line is pretty good that the Colts have. So I think just baseline, you can trust it if you want to push the ball downfield. All right, there you go. Thanks for making me tee that one up. Okay, let's move on here.
Just give you an opportunity to show off here.
That we just kicked off the podcast with a lot of discussion about the quarterback. Let's move on real quick to the backup quarterback. And this brings us to the Colts Show Mailbag, which is brought to you by Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PC, Achieving greatness with the real-time insights from the field to the front office, Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PCs are transforming how the Indianapolis Colts win. Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PC, where every day is game day. All right, this question comes from Anthony Simpson from Indianapolis. He asks, will Anthony Richardson Sr. be used in short yardage, third down plays, or goal line plays, and is he definitely the backup? All right, he's definitely the backup. Will the Colts use him in those short yardage, goal line, third down situations, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2?
I'm actually surprised that Shane has not been asked about this yet. I thought that this might be something that would come up.
Yes.
Why would you not make it an option?
Because he's your backup quarterback, and you have a quarterback who can do it already in Daniel Jones.
You do, but you also have this opportunity in which that it's going to keep defenses honest if they have to account for that element as being a possibility. It is also a situation in which Anthony Richardson thrives with that opportunity.
True.
In those types of situations. So also, you're not putting Daniel Jones at risk by making him do it. I mean, you've got a guy who he's active on game day. He's suited up. He's got pads on. Why not put him in there in these type of situations? You also know that he's a guy who needs reps to continue to develop. This is at least one way to get him some game reps and allow him to continue to doing that. To me, it's kind of like you got a 75-degree day on like a weekend, and you got your sports car in the garage, and you're like, nah, it's good. We're fine. Not going to do that. Why open it up, you know? Why take the top down? Why take it for a cruise?
Okay, so from my perspective, that would be like if I previously had got the sports car out and I got a huge scratch on it. Because in 2020, I saw the Bears try this with Mitch Trubisky. When Nick Foles was a starter, they brought him in for one play. It was a designed run. He gained 3 yards. He hurt his right shoulder. They had no backup quarterback. That is a risk that you are running with this, especially when you have a quarterback in Daniel Jones who, like I was just talking about, has converted those opportunities in his career.
But I just still think.
But Anthony Richardson is like a lead at them. I understand that.
Yes,
I understand that.
Yes. And then, and again, you're also not risking Daniel in those types of situations.
True.
I mean, it's a great compliment. And I mean, again, like they're both big athletic guys that are tough to defend, but this is truly where you have seen Anthony Richardson thrive in those types of situations.
And you've seen defenders on other teams make business decisions when he's barreling into the end zone.
He has shedded defenders.
Yeah.
I mean, he's carried like 3 guys over the goal line, right, to get your touchdown. I don't know. I like the fact that, what did we say about Shane Steichen as a play caller earlier?
He is Occam's razor.
Right? So, like, he's not going to play scary. He to me, if you've got tools in your toolbox.
The simplest solution is the one he's going to go with.
Yeah. Why would you not? I mean, it is, what have we heard him say? It's so tough to win games. We had so many games last year come down to single score. We want to create an edge over the course of the preseason. You're telling me Anthony Richardson in that type of situation doesn't give you an edge?
He does. I'm just saying, I think Daniel Jones is also, he can do it too.
He certainly can. I'm not diminishing the ability whatsoever of Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I am just thinking it is a very intriguing option and a possibility that you don't eliminate it. Why would you go into the season and say, we are never going to do that?
That's true. Yeah.
I'm not saying you're going to see it in 17 games, but I think if you're selective in the type of situations that you're implementing it, it can be very effective.
Like this is the moment to go for it. I don't know. I just maybe you can score touchdowns with Jonathan Taylor, with throwing the ball. I don't know, or you know who else can do that? The thing that we're talking about is Tyler Warren. So you've got like 3 guys on your roster who can do this. I don't know. Really good question though. Really interesting. And yeah, I mean, if Shane gets asked about it, he's probably not going to reveal a whole lot, but just an interesting thing to think about, keeping your back pocket. All right, let's move on to your 5 most important players for 2025 who are not the quarterback. Like we've talked about the quarterback enough here. Lara, give me your list.
Okay, so we have, I can see your list, and we do have a few. Should we go through what overlaps?
Let's go through the overlap.
So the overlap, you and I agreed on Jonathan Taylor, Charvarius Mooney Ward, and Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
My differences, so we have two differences. I went with Quentin Nelson and DeForest Buckner as my other
You're just
two.
going with and I love this, because where your brain has gone is to the two stalwarts, the two, frankly, best players on this team, two of the three best players on this team.
I mean, yeah, two of the best players in the league.
Right.
I mean, at their positions.
And those guys, like if I had to guess, you can obviously speak here, but I look at those guys and I go, those are the culture setters. Those are the guys who, like, when we need to win, those are the guys we're looking toward.
Yeah, well, and I just think, too, that this is the situation for a guy like Quentin Nelson, who's now been in this system with Shane. If there are opportunities where you're putting this offense in prime position, like, obviously, like, Daniel Jones is your quarterback, and he's going to be working a ton with Tanner, and but, like, Quentin Nelson is going to bring you, value in those types of situations to be sure that this offense is in the best position for success, hands down. I mean, you think about, of course, two new starters on that offensive line. I mean, as a quarterback, you were going to be heavily reliant on that guy, no question, to make sure that this operation is effective and efficient. Then, to the flip side, it's obviously a new defensive scheme with Lou Anarumo, all of those different things. You talk about the tone setter. Yes, we've heard that communication on the back end between all of those DBs. Hence, you got to put Mooney Ward in there. I know you got some other guys in there.
And Ward, real quick on Ward, I have him in there because, like, if he is who I think we all think he can be, and what we saw in training camp, where he can be that lockdown corner who travels with the number one receiver, that allows Lou Anarumo to do so much more with his coverages.
And my thought, too, is that the guys up front getting pressure and having to account for a lot of attention is going to create those opportunities on the back end, which obviously you're going to get edge pressure, I think, much more effectively with the type of scheme that Lou runs, with the guys who you have. But I just think that whole front, it runs through number 99.
Yeah, it does. But the guy, so the difference here, the differences we had was I put Latu, and Cam Bynum on my list. So speaking of the front, I think this defense, it looks good. I think this is a good defense. I think this could be a great defense if you get that screaming, just 10-sack guy who has to be accounted for by every other defensive coordinator. If you get that guy off the edge,
what Rick Venturi calls the ambient play.
Yeah, right. And it's different when it's an edge guy. It really is. Because you have to chip. You can't get five guys out in routes all the times. You have to have guys chip and release. It is a different ball game for opposing offensive coordinators when you got the end. And if Latu can finish sacks, generate a ton of pressure, and by middle of the season, opposing defensive coordinators are like, man, 97 on the Colts. Ooh, okay, we gotta, you need the Ambien to sleep because of that guy. I think what that opens up for the rest of this defense, then that could take you from being the 12th best defense in the league to the 5th best defense in the league.
And just to follow that up, just to kind of support what you said, everyone that we've talked to has said that we have a goal of being a top 5 defense. Meanwhile, individual goals, Latu, sack a game. That's his goal this season.
Right? Trey Hendrickson, sack a game guy.
There you go. And I spent some time chatting with defensive or pass rush specialist Eddie McGilvra, who Latu has worked with back to his days at UCLA. He also works with Kwity Paye, number of different guys. And Coach Eddie told me that they really worked on boosting Latu's confidence, and so he's able to play much faster and much freer. Take it one rep at a time. He said it's really drilled into him, not overthinking the totality of everything, because obviously Latu, he's incredible because he comes in with like so much fire and so much, but there were these like moments where you could tell he was so down on himself, or he kind of go back and forth. So like now it's one rep at a time. Okay, won this one, lost this one, whatever, on to that next one. And so that's really one of the elements that I think you're going to see play into his further development in year 2.
I think he's going to get more one-on-one opportunities because of, like you mentioned, the way that Lou coaches his defense. He's going to send more fire zones and stuff like that. That's going to try to confuse a protection scheme and manipulate it so you can get Latu in those situations. Which brings me to Cam Bynum, where a lot of the stuff
you just want to see the sellies. You want to see the takeaway sellies.
I mean, obviously, right?
Or a farming.
He didn't get a penalty for that in training camp, by the way.
I know.
Poor Stanford guy, man. No, but with Cam Bynum, a lot, like, he's almost like the command center of this defense, where if he's back there and you can be this sort of shape-shifting, amorphous defense that plays one coverage on this side and one coverage on this side, and it looks like one thing and it looks like another thing. And by the way, you're blitzing guys, you don't know where they're coming from. If you got Cam Bynum back there as almost like the brains behind everything on the field, that allows you to do all of that. Lou Anarumo's defenses in Cincinnati, I think they fell off when he didn't have Jesse Bates and Von Bell. Mm-hmm. And Cam Bynum is a very analogous player to Jesse Bates in a lot of ways, in terms of the smarts and the way that he plays. And that is a huge compliment, by the way. So if he can be that presence in the back end, and by the way, two of these guys in there, you spent a lot of money to get them this offseason, in Bynum and Ward. I just think that is so important for the way this defense can play and the way that Lou Anarumo will make things difficult on opposing quarterbacks. The one guy who we haven't talked about here, by the way, is Tyler Warren, which we're going to get into here in segment 4 anyway, with the pass catchers. So we both had him in our top 5. But let's talk about this.
And, I mean, I feel like I kind of went through this, and that this is a different element that than you have had within this offense under Shane Steichen.
The schemed-up touches you can get for him, the outlet that he is for a quarterback. The Colts, like you said, they haven't had that in their offense in the last couple of years. All right, let's talk about the pass catchers. Gut answer, who leads the Colts in targets this year?
Pittman.
I think it's Downs. Receptions.
Oh.
Probably going to be Pittman for you. If you're leading in targets, you're probably going to lead. So but actually I'm going to go with Pittman.
Okay.
Even though Downs leads in targets, Pittman leads in receptions.
Okay.
Yards.
Alec Pierce.
Ooh, I'm going Downs.
Okay.
And touchdowns. Tyler Warren.
Yeah, I knew you were going there. That's why I gave pause. Interesting. Okay.
Will the Colts have 4 wide receivers or tight ends get 65 or more targets?
This is crazy. I don't.
This is crazy.
This is well. Okay. This is difficult to do.
But it's like the spread the wealth type thing that
it is.
That's like 4 targets a game.
Okay, now you have to give the context with it. You've got your little bullet point. I'm not going to steal it from you.
The context here is only 2 teams last year had 4 wide receivers or tight ends get 65 or more targets. That was the Packers with Romeo Doubs, Tucker Kraft, Jaden Reed, and Dontavian Wicks, and the Atlanta Falcons with Drake London, Ray McLeod, Darnell Mooney, and Kyle Pitts. The fun fact here, because I saw those and I go, well, they must have been like pretty high in like pass rate.
Right.
They were both actually top 10 in the NFL in run rate. Green Bay was second. But these are 2 teams that maybe didn't have that clear
dominant,
cut. Right.
Yes.
Like the Vikings with Justin Jefferson are not like spreading the wealth, even though they've got Jordan Addison and TJ Hockenson. But it's like without that clear cut like top 5, like you're like, man, that guy is going top, first round in all these fantasy drafts. Without that, you can still build a really good offense because the Packers and Falcons had good offenses last year.
Yeah.
Could the Colts follow this blueprint, basically?
Sure. I mean, yeah.
I agree.
You
yeah.
could? Why not?
Why not? Where does A.D. Mitchell fit in that?
That's the thing is you got a lot of hands to feed.
Right. Because think about the pecking order for touches in this offense. You've got Jonathan Taylor, Pittman, Downs, Pierce, Warren. Is Mitchell 6th?
Well, yeah. I mean, and then you also think about
he can earn his way up,
but then you think about kind of with your running backs, like a guy like DJ Giddens, like kind of his role.
In terms of touches, Giddens probably will get more.
Yes.
But this isn't meant to diminish anything because A.D. Mitchell had an awesome preseason.
Yeah.
But I think what this could allow the Colts to do is focus in on the things he does really well. Mm-hmm. Outbreaking routes and vertical stems. He is awesome.
He wins matchups.
Yes.
It's great separation.
And like those contested catches he made downfield on some of those training camp plays, like the twisting, turning catches, he did a really phenomenal job at those. If that's what you're relying on A.D. Mitchell for this year, and then he can grow into the other stuff, but you're not asking him to be 3rd on your pecking order. Mm-hmm. He could earn, hey, work your way up, earn your way up. You could do it, but you got to earn it. But let's start with the stuff you do really well. That is a really good thing for the health of this passing offense. How many years would we have gone into a season and been like, Colts really need A.D. Mitchell. Like, they need him to be their fourth option. Like, I think 2 years ago, we probably would have gone into that year and said, the Colts probably need A.D. Mitchell to be their third or fourth, fifth option instead of, like, sixth, seventh maybe. That's a good thing. That shows how much depth you got and how many options you have when, if Michael Pittman has to miss a game or Josh Downs has to miss a game, you've got a guy in A.D. Mitchell who is unbelievably talented to step in there and hopefully be able to do his thing.
I also just think of in terms of your rotation at that position too. Like the ability to keep defenses honest because you're able to probably rotate your pass catchers throughout much easier than what they are in terms of, coverages, right? So I just think that lends itself to keeping guys, fresh and using, different when you are seeing certain things throughout the game, lending itself to using guys more frequently than others based on how the game is coming to you.
There are different ways to create a good offense. Some offenses, it's Joe Burrow, throw it deep to Jamar Chase and, get the ball to T. Higgins and we'll be fine. Other offenses, it is you kind of have a dial that you can turn. Is this going to be a Pittman week, a Downs week, a Taylor week, a Warren week, a Pierce week? Like the Colts, the ability to kind of, for Shane Steichen to kind of turn that dial a little bit does mean that opposing defenses can't just key in on one guy. And I don't want to diminish, like, sometimes you can key in on that one guy and Jamar Chase is still going to toast you. Like, this isn't to say, like, oh, this is way better. This is just a different way of going about it.
Yeah.
And I think it works for the way that Shane Steichen wants to coach a team in that he's going to find the easiest solution in a game plan on a week-to-week basis, and it may not be every week's a Pittman week or every week is a Downs week. It's going to be, okay, we're playing this team and they do this really well, so let's throw Tyler Warren in there and get him 10 targets. And then the next week, this team's going to play a lot of this coverage. This is going to be an Alec Pierce week. The ability to do that, I think, does allow Shane Steichen.
And adjust in game for it. Okay, we thought going in that this was going to be, we thought this was going to play this way. Okay, now we're seeing what they're doing, and we're going to make a couple of halftime adjustments, and we're incorporating, you're switching things up over the course of it. Multiplicity. That's
okay.
Daniel Jones said versatility within the offense.
All right, we're already going a little bit long here, Larra. We had some biggest lingering questions about like the cornerback opposite Charvarius Ward, Kenny Moore II, O-line depth. Those are things that we have thought about. I don't want our listeners to think that we haven't thought about those, but in the interest of not having an hour-long podcast, let's just get right to what constitutes a successful season for this year's Indianapolis Colts.
Is it too simple for me to say a playoff berth?
I think it's winning the AFC South.
Yeah, so we're kind of in lockstep.
I think it's not just a playoff berth. I think it's winning the South.
Okay. Which, going into it, obviously, questions in Jacksonville, questions in Tennessee with kind of what each of those teams are going to look like. So your kind of, biggest adversary in that appears to be the Houston Texans.
Won 10 games the last 2 years.
Right.
I mean,
a team that you had on the ropes 2 years ago.
Right. A team that you've played very close the last couple of years. To me, it's winning the South. That is a successful season, full stop, no other qualifiers to whatever happens. I think making the playoffs.
So you win 11 games and you get, because let's just say, if whatever. So say Houston wins 10, or 12. If you win 11 games and get in the playoff on a wild card, you're saying.
All right. If you do that.
Just because
right.
the chatter surrounding the Houston Texans, people have them very high in terms of, kind of when you talk like nationally, people have pretty high expectations for what
their defense is going to be awfully good. I have a lot of questions about their offense.
Just to throw that in there, 11.
Right.
You saying 11?
Okay, if Houston, if their O-line comes together and Nick Caley is a huge change at OC, and C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins have this, they keep building on that, and they go 12-5 with the best defense in the NFL, and the Colts go 11-6 and they make the playoffs as the 5 seed.
You're okay with that, right?
I'm fine with that. But I think just baseline, it's like no other qualifiers. Win the division. Hasn't happened since 2014. That is too long.
And
we all know that.
Absolutely. One thing that I have, a couple of themes that I caught on over the course of the preseason. One of them was that this team greatly feels a sense of urgency when you have veteran players, your DeForest Buckners, your Kenny Moores, your Quentin Nelsons, who have spent this much time in this organization, and you have gone this long, it's been since 2020, without making a playoff appearance. So there's a sense of urgency from that regard. Also, yes, the reason you went and got a guy, got guys like Charvarius Ward and Cam Bynum and, different guys who you added. I'm going to throw Joe Bacci in that conversation too, a guy who...
That dude's been so much fun to watch.
So much fun, and also went to 2 AFC championships with Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. So it's not only these players that you brought in and how good they are individually, it's the fact that they have been a part of winning teams and they have experience on playoff teams and going deep into playoff runs. You also have that in a guy like DeForest Buckner. So you think about the compliment that a guy like Charvarius Ward is in that respect. Obviously, Cam Bynum won at a high level, maybe didn't go as deep, of course. But I think that all of those are immense factors in guys who have seen how it's done, how to get there, and are going to get influence on getting this team back to that point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think if you just take the season in a vacuum, like just win. Just win. If you make the playoffs and you win 11 games, that's great. However it happens. The reason why I was sort of like on the wild card was like I don't want I think if you back your way in at 9-8, you make it, you earn it at 9-8, but then you're going to Buffalo, you're going to Baltimore, Kansas City. A 7 seed has never won a playoff game since the NFL expanded the playoffs. So is that a success? I think that would be probably a discussion that we would have to have some qualifiers with, right? That's why I was just like, baseline, no qualifiers. You win the division. You host a home playoff game at Lucas Oil Stadium. And by the way, if you do that, you probably get there on the back of a really good defense, an offense that is efficient and doesn't turn the ball over much. And, look, then you have the discussion about what's next at quarterback when it comes. But if you make the playoffs and you win your division, this is a good year. It's a good year. You don't have to have any hand-wringing. You don't have to wonder, just win the division. That's it.
There you go. Simple as that, right?
Right. So easier said than done.
We'll revisit this conversation in January.
Yes, we will revisit this conversation in January. A lot to get into on this podcast. Larra, thanks for joining me and helping me out on it.
Oh, hey, thanks for the call-up.
I mean, I had to have someone to dispense the Ryan Tanahill take on. I was like, I think I got something here.
I will always entertain your fodder on random quarterback factoids. Yes.
Sometimes it's like that's stupid, but hey, if you're a listener or viewer and you have a thought on anything that we've talked about, please drop a comment on YouTube. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. We love seeing all those come in. A lot of good comments last week on the episode with Michael Pittman Jr.
Also, shout out to Anthony for the great question. Anthony Simpson there. I like that one.
The Colts Show Mailbag, you can get your questions in at colts.com/mailbag. Drop them in the YouTube comments of this episode. Get them to me on social media. And as a reminder, the Colts Show is presented by Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PCs. Greatness in the NFL is built on preparation and quick decisions. That's why the Indianapolis Colts trust Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PCs, bringing real-time AI insights to the sideline so coaches and players can make smarter, faster decisions when it matters most. From the field to the front office, Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PC is transforming how the Indianapolis Colts win. Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PC, where every day is game day. For my friend Larra Overton, I'm JJ Stankevitz. Thanks for tuning into this episode of The Colts Show, presented by Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PC. I'll be back next week with a breakdown of the Miami Dolphins in Week 1. And to help me do that, just Daniel Jones sitting in that chair.
That's a good one. That's
a pretty good one.
I'll look much different this week.
Good conversation, yes. Yeah. Yes, definitely a different guest in that chair. Different look. So, yeah. Yes, just a skosh. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next week.